and welcome to tonight's meeting. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And so with that, do we have a motion? Oh. Okay. All right, and do we have a second for the approval of the minutes? Second, Mr. McEwen, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right. Agenda item number 3, items to be added to the agenda by commissions, members, or staff. Anything on that?
Madam Chair, I'd like to introduce our Brookings County State's Attorney, Dan Nelson. He'll provide assistance to this board in the future, not tonight, but in the future when we have questions, we'll submit them to the State's Attorney's office, and he'll get us the answers as we need them. And we wanted to bring him here, and he wanted to see how we do our operations, and we wanted the board to see him.
Okay. Yeah, welcome. Thank you, Dan, for stopping by. And
yeah, thank you for having me. I know this is my first time actually attending a planning commission agenda, and don't think I don't care about you guys. But this was actually the first time that I had assisted Richard and Bob on a question that we'll probably get to later on in the agenda. So I offered to stop by and assist on any other questions the commission had as it relates to that. But thank you for having me. Happy to be here, and always never hesitate to reach out to me if you have any other questions regarding issues relating to the county. Happy to discuss those. So,
okay. Thank you for that, and yeah, glad to see you. All right. Any other agenda items to be added? Okay. All right, and then agenda item number 4, invitation for citizens to schedule time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. The time is limited to 5 minutes per person to address the board. So with that, open it up to the audience. Just to clarify, this is for anything not listed on the agenda. Okay. Seeing none, we will close that portion. Agenda item number 5, disclosure of conflicts of interest, relationships to applicants, ex parte communication, anything like that.
Madam Chair, I will be recusing myself on item 12 on the conditional use permit. Roger will take my place.
Roger will be taking your place. Okay.
I better sit out on variance number 10.
Number 10, thank you. Okay. Will you have that down, Mr. Kleinjohn? Oh, thank you. Okay, so that's agenda item number 9. Alrighty, so Roger will see you up for a few things. Okay. All right, so with that, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, approval of the agenda. So we have a motion. Motion by Mr. Davis and a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ford. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? All right. We'll move on to act as the Brookings County Planning and Zoning Commission. So with that, so I'm going to start out by reading the opening statement for our Planning Commission. I will now call this meeting to order. I would like to welcome those in attendance at tonight's meeting. The Brookings County Planning Commission is a 9-member commission whose function is to recommend approval or disapproval of land use plans, zoning ordinances, subdivision plats, and amendments thereof to the Brookings County Commission. The commission makes its recommendation based upon the adopted comprehensive plan for the physical development of the unincorporated areas of Brookings County. As a matter of policy, all motions are made in the positive. After a motion is moved and seconded, it is open for debate. Those supporting the motion shall in turn give their reasons. Those opposing the motion shall then offer their reasons. After everyone has been given a chance to be heard, the commission shall recommend approval or disapproval based on the testimony and information presented. A simple majority vote of the quorum of members of the Planning and Zoning Board in attendance is required to forward a recommendation. All right. So again, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, the consideration of plats. And item 7A, 2019 Plat 015, plat of Lot 10A, Block 2, Sunset Point Addition in Government Lots 3 and 4 of Section 22, Township 112 North, Range 47 west of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. And we'll call for a motion to hear this.
Move approval.
Thank you, Mr. Bartley, and a second.
I'll second.
Second, thank you, Mr. Nelson. And Richard, please, we'll call for a
Yes.
staff report. Thank you.
2019 Plat 015. It's a plat of Lot 10A in the Block 1 of Sunset Point Addition. Sunset Point Addition is located on Lake Hendricks. It was originally platted and approved by the board on November 1st, 2005 into lake lots, meeting the 20,000 square foot requirement for the Lake Park District. On October 2nd, 2012, all the lots that were platted in 2005 that were not sold were replatted back into larger lots. And they have sold a lot, and they have since then replatted those lots when they were sold. And this lot has been sold, and it's being replatted into the individual lake lot like it was. This is South Lake Drive right here, coming up to Lake Hendricks from the south. This is Lot 10A, has 20,173 square feet, meets our Lake Park square foot requirements for a lot. Just an overlay showing the lot on the rest of it right here. This is just the big parcel the way it is. And this comes down, goes back out to the county highway down here, goes into Lake Hendricks, and that's all that I have.
Okay. Pretty straightforward, okay. Start out by opening it up for discussion from the board. Okay. Anything from the board on this one? Again, pretty straightforward. Okay. Okay, so we'll open it up for a public hearing. We'll start out by asking for proponents. Okay, and any opponents to this agenda item? We'll close the public hearing, and then again back to the board.
I'm assuming there'll be a new approach put in and there isn't any vision issues there.
No, that's a private road, and we put in according to their bylaws and everything. The county and township has no jurisdiction over that. It's up to the private road of the Lake Association.
All right. Any other discussion from the board? All right. With that, Richard, please call for a vote.
Bartley,
Aye.
McHugh, Davis,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Spence,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
and Yelankowicz.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. Then next, we will move on to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment. Okay. All right, so start out with the opening statement. The Board of Adjustment is a 9-member board which has the power to hear requests for variances, conditional uses, appeals, and special exceptions. The concurring vote of 2/3 of the attending members is necessary for approval of any action by the board. A 9-member board requires 6 votes, and a 6-member board requires 6 votes. In accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, we require a motion to approve a request before the request can be debated. As a matter of policy, all motions are made in the positive. The board, under specific powers granted it by the state, shall authorize variances from the zoning requirements where special conditions existing on the land will result in unnecessary hardship for the applicant. Financial disadvantage to the property owner shall not constitute proof of unnecessary hardship. Okay? And so moving on to agenda item number 8. 2019 variance 009, Joel Edmond has made an application 2019 variance 009 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a variance. Article 4, District Requirements, Chapter 4.03, LP Lake Park District. Section 4.03.03, Density Area and Yard Regulation, Minimum Lake Front. The property is described as Lot 39A, DeBoers Lake Tetonka, West Subdivision in Southeast Quarter, Section 7, Township 111 North, Range 51 West, Oakwood Township, located at 57 Oakwood Shoreline Drive, Bruce, South Dakota, 57220. And again, we'll call for a motion on this agenda, to hear this agenda item.
Yeah, motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nelson, and a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Spence, thank you. And Richard, please read your staff report.
Yes, 2019 variance 009. Joel Edmond has applied for variance to build a 18-foot by 28-foot residential addition, 59 feet from the high water mark, a variance of 26 feet. The Lake Park lakefront setbacks are 75 feet from the high water mark. The proposed addition will be built between the house and a detached garage. The addition will be in line with the house, and the neighboring properties on either side. Cabin is built on a ridge and sits 12 foot above the high water mark. But a portion of the parcel is in the floodplain, and the applicant will have to complete and follow the FEMA floodplain standards for the proposed addition. The site plan and the current site plan and the proposed site plan were included in the report. Things to consider was the shape and the size of the lot when it was platted. The DeBoers Lake Tetonka West subdivision was originally platted in 1984, replatted in June of 2003, and then also again in 2007. And it does meet the comprehensive plan requirements for future development. Will still continue on Lake Tetonka, Lake Hendricks, and Lake Campbell, and Lake Poncet. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners and the Oakwood Township chairman and clerk. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on August 20th and 27th, 2019, and the Volga Tribune on August 22nd and 29th. I do have one comment that the office received, and I'll read that at the end of my staff report here. This is variance application. This will be the proposed addition. This is his existing house. The existing garage right here. Connect the two, 18 feet this way, 28 feet in depth. Just the elevations of the proposed structure. This would be looking at from lakeside. This would be the proposed addition right here. This would be the view from the road looking towards the lake. This would be the southeast elevation, the end of the addition, and this is just the roof line here. The beacon map, this red area shows the floodplain, comes up, even though it's 12 feet out of the water, it has it coming up, cutting in just to the portion of the property on the house. This is looking at it from the road. The fence area between the house and the garage is where the proposed addition would go. This is looking at it from the lakeside up on the lawn. This is where the wheel is. It's 59 feet from the high water mark. This would be looking towards the northwest from the neighbor to the southeast. Looking there, this is 4 feet out from the edge of the house, the way their plan was submitted. And from this point out, it's 59 feet from the high water mark. Another view from the lakeside. This is looking down on the edge of the water, looking up. You can see I'm down there quite a ways looking up towards that. There's about 12-foot elevation difference between the house and the high water mark. And this is just looking towards the southeast from the northwest side of the house, showing the 4 foot out. It's vision-wise, it will not impact the neighbor's visibility up and down the shoreline on either side, so. And this, you all received a copy of this also in your chair tonight. On August 29th at 12:05, Dennis DeBoer called the office to note his opposition to Joel Edmonds' variance request. He noted he thought the addition was too large. He would be maybe fine if it was half the size. He further explained, things are getting too close to the lake, in my opinion. That was from Dennis DeBoer, Lake Oakwood. And that's all that I have.
All right. Thank you, Richard. Let's go ahead and call up the applicant. If Mr. Edmonds here, please come on up here, take the microphone, and just let us know a little bit about the project that you plan on doing.
Plan is just to connect the existing garage.
We'll
to
start
the-
out, sorry, I should have said, please state your name into the microphone.
Oh,
for
Joel,
the
Joel
camera.
Edmond.
Thank you. And then, yeah, go ahead, please.
Just to connect the house and the garage that we built. I'm not exactly sure how many years ago. All the walls are there that we poured for the garage to retain because of the elevation. We're just going to connect the two. And it'll actually sit back farther than our house actually is. If you look, the main part of the house that comes out is probably 25 feet, 20 feet out, closer to the lake than this addition would be.
Okay.
Should have done it when I built the garage, right? But it didn't happen.
So with that then, we'll open it up for discussion from the board. Any questions we have for the applicant right off the bat?
So what's the distance of the original part of the house then, or the main part of the house there to the water,
Oh,
high water mark?
if you show that, well, you can see where it says the 59 feet to high water mark. See, I'm going to be from that wheel. So from that wheel to the edge of my house is 2 6 foot, 12. Yeah, it's close to 20 foot. My main house is to the lake, closer to the lake than this addition would be.
Is this your full-time residence?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Edmonds, so do I understand that the proposed addition that was presented in the drawings here is now smaller than the drawings? You're going to be setting it back, or are the drawings
No.
accurate?
The drawings
Are accurate.
Are it.
Okay, that's
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Because you're
Well,
talking
we just
about it
put-
being farther back, so it's not farther back, it's
No,
as presented.
Right. No,
Okay.
it is what it, yeah. We put it 4 feet out just so it wasn't a straight line and help with the curb appeal both from the water and the front.
Yeah, Joel, I thought it looked like to me you were not getting closer, you're actually staying the same. Is that correct, or am I getting this wrong?
Well, we're not getting closer than, we're getting 4 foot beyond the setback part of the house, but not closer to the lake compared to the main part of my house.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're not as far out.
Okay.
Any
So-
other, oh,
so-
sorry.
So from that wheel to the end of the house, it is approximately 20 feet then?
I'm assuming just looking at I did not measure it unless, you got a 6 foot window there and you got an 8 foot window and you got some in between there and then it's got to be close to 20 feet. Set back away from the lake compared to the original house.
Yes, he was granted variances for the the house he constructed, the detached garage he constructed, but those are all on individual basis. They do not be taken into consideration on each one.
All right, any other discussion from the board for the applicant? All right. So with that then, I'm going to open it up to the public. We'll start out with proponents. Any proponents in favor of this that want to speak? And any opponents? Okay. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and back to the board. Anything else that we want to discuss before voting on this item?
Does Richard want to read his statements he received?
I did. It was from Mr. DeBoer.
Okay, you did read that. Okay.
All right, so I think we've kind of already done a lot of our questions here. So, Richard, I'm going to turn it over to you. Findings of facts, please.
Yes, this will be our standard findings, and I'll just read the highlighted areas. Brookings County zoning variance 2019 VAR 009. Application for a variance having been filed with the Brookings County Zoning Commission, acting as a Brookings County Board of Adjustment. Copy of the application is being attached here too. Application being made by Joel Edmond regarding the following real property. Lot 39A, DeBoer's Lake Titankaha West Subdivision in the southeast 1/4, Section 7, Township 111 North, Range 51 West, Oakwood Township. After due notice, a public hearing having been held on the application on this 3rd day of September 2019. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further determines and conditions this variance upon the following special conditions or safeguards. A, DeBoer's Lake Titankaha West Subdivision was originally platted in October 1984, replatted in June 2003, and September 7th, 2007. Shape and size of lot. The lot is located on a bluff 13 to 16 feet above the water's edge. The Brookings County Board of Adjustment hereby, at least 2/3 vote of its full membership, hereby grants the above petitioner variance for the above described real property as follows. Build an 18 feet by 28 feet residential addition between the house and the detached garage, 59 feet from the highest known water mark, and must comply with the FEMA floodplain construction requirements. This variance is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance in all with conditions and safeguards in 5 above and upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County Zoning Director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the terms of this variance. If this variance is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated this 3rd day of September 2019.
All right. So, Richard, please call for a vote.
McHugh.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Spence.
Aye.
Jensen.
Yes.
Bartley.
Aye.
Andy Lankiewicz.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 9. And with that, we'll start out. I believe, Mr. Kleinjohn, is this the one where you said you wanted to recuse yourself?
This
Thought
is
it-
Howell's, isn't it?
No. Okay, maybe I had misunderstood then.
Did you
Sorry.
want Mr. Howells or Mr. Washies?
Washies.
Okay, this
Okay.
Mr. Washies is next.
Okay.
Alrighty, thank you. Okay, so again, agenda item number 9. Start out with a motion, please.
So moved.
So moved by Mr.
Did you read
Davis.
it? Did you read the agenda item?
Nope. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I'll start out with reading the agenda item. 2019, variance 010, Chad Wolsjay has made an application 2019, variance 010 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for variance, Article 11.00, Section 11.01A Agricultural District, Area Regulation Number 2. Front yard, the minimum depth of the front yard shall be described as 100 feet. A corner lot will have 2 front yards. The property is described as northeast quarter, EXC 30-acre tract and easements of EXC KJJQ Tower addition in Section 16, Township 109 North, Range 51 west of Oslo Township. Okay. And so again, with that, I will call for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Motion and a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ford. Thank you. And Richard, call for your staff report.
Yes, 2019, variance 010, Chad Washi has applied for variance to build a 67 feet by 204 feet hoop barn 60 feet from the center of 463rd Avenue, a variance of 73 feet. Required setback is 133 feet from the center of 483rd Avenue, which is an Oslo Township gravel road. The distance between the right-of-way and the east side of the proposed building is 27 feet. The northwest corner of the proposed building site slopes down in elevation also with this spring is towards a wetland area, and there's water there also. Things to consider would be the lay of the land as you go northwest, and increased water level from the snow melt and the above normal rainfall that we have received. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on August 20th and 27th, 2019, and the Volga Tribune on August 22nd and 29th, 2019. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowner, the Sherman Oslo Township Chairman and Clerk, and we received no correspondences from the township or the adjoining landowners. Here's his variance application. Here's his site plan, his main operation on the east side of the road. This is his other part where he keeps his hay storage. This is the driveway right here. This is the approximate increased water line up in this area right there. Right in here, it slopes off towards the northwest on there. This is a more level spot up in here. From the center would be 60 feet to the edge of the building, which would be 27 feet from the right-of-way, which you could still drive through that area. Here's the aerial view, and this is the updated version of the on Beacon with taking this spring, so it shows the elevated water right in this area. This is the road. This is where his existing bale pile is, the approximate location of where the building hoop barn would be. And this is just looking along the road, looking south on 4 from the driveway on there. This is the area that's filled in and elevated right here. This is no obstructions going to the south, looking towards the north. The existing yards and trees right there. Here's the fence, the right-of-way line right there. This is where the wheel is 60 feet from the center of 463rd Avenue, looking towards the south. This is the same 60 feet looking towards the north right here, off of the center of the road. It's just looking towards the west where the 60 feet would be. And this would be the west edge or the west side of the structure where the west side of the building would be right here. And if he was to keep it at the proposed setback of 133 feet, this would be the west edge right here. versus this side of his row of bale stalks right here to this is where the edge would be right here. Right, this is just looking from that location towards the west. It's 28 feet from there, from where the original setback would be to the water right now. It was 28 feet to the water's edge. And this is looking on the south side of the building. Just looking back towards the east at the 133-foot mark. This is where the south edge building would be if it was kept at the setback, right here. And this is where the 60 feet would be right here. If he keeps it at the 60 feet from the right of way, this would be the west edge of the building on the east side of the cornstalk bales. Just a view here of the area, looking at it from the road where the south edge of the building would be. And that's all that I have.
All right, thank you, Richard. We'll start out by asking the applicant to come forward and address the board, please.
Hi, I'm Chad Washi. When we originally started looking at doing this project, we didn't think the variance or the setback would be a big problem until this spring. With the water was way higher than it's ever been, and if we build the shed to where the original setback is, the corner of the shed would be in where the water was at its highest point this spring. So with that, obviously became a concern because on the northwest corner of the property, I need to enter the field or crop ground with machinery, and also need to move cattle from that pasture back to another pasture on the other side of what's become a lake.
All right, start out by opening up some discussion with the board. Any questions we have for Mr. Walshy? Washi, thank you. Washi.
It is 463rd because earlier in the report it was stated 483rd. Is that correct?
Oh, it is 463rd, yep.
Okay.
It's southwest of Volga where the radio towers are.
Okay.
That gives you a general idea where it is. And we've been storing hay in this area where we're going to put the shed. And like Richard said in his report, you know, on the old fence line, if you just go north a little further, there's a tree grove. So it's not close enough to any intersections or anything where it's going to restrict visibility. You can see there where the trees are to the north of that. And then the intersection is yet another roughly quarter of a mile north.
All right, hearing no more discussion from the board, we'll open it up to the public. Ask for any proponents and opponents. Close the public hearing. Okay, this one seems pretty straightforward, and our biggest thing is usually view. So, like you said, it looks like it's pretty. It's already been hay bales there before, so, okay. Any other questions? All right. Go back to Richard here. Findings of facts, please.
Again, these are our standard findings, and I'll read the highlighted areas. Brookings County zoning ordinance variance 2019 VAR 010, an application for variance having been filed with the Brookings County Zoning Commission, acting as the Brookings County Board of Adjustment, a copy of the application being attached hereto. Such application being made by Chad Washi regarding the following real property: northeast 1/4, except 30-acre tract and easements, and accept KJJQ Tower Track in Section 16, Township 109 North, Range 51 West, Oslo Township. After due notice, a public hearing having been held on the application on this 3rd day of September 2019. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, Number 5, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further determines and conditions this variance upon the following special conditions or safeguards. Lay of the land drops off in the northwest corner of the proposed building site. Wetland area on the west edge of the building site encroaches into the buildable area. Brookings County Board of Adjustment, at least 2/3 vote of its full membership, hereby grants the above petitioner a variance for the above describable property as follows. Build a 67 feet by 204 feet, 60 feet hoop barn, 60 feet from the center of 463rd Avenue. This variance is specifically conditioned on initial and continued compliance with all the conditions and safeguards in 5 above, upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County zoning director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the terms of this variance. If this variance is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated this 3rd day of September, 2019.
All right. Thank you, Richard, and please call for a vote.
Davis,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Spence,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
McHugh,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
and Yelankowicz.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the next agenda item, number 10. All right, the exchange is happening, it looks like. No? Okay. All right, so agenda item number 10, 2019, variance 008, Howell Farms Inc. Howell Livestock Inc. by Dan Howell has made a application 2019, variance 008 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a variance. Article 22, Section 22.01, Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation Regulations, Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation Control Requirements, Number 6, Required Setback and Separation Distance, Chapter 4.06, Aquifer Protection Overlay District, Section 4.06.05.03. The property is described as the northwest quarter, except Lot 1, Olson's Addition in Section 35, Township 110 North, Range 51 west of Volga Township. And from the board, call for a motion to hear this item.
So move.
Moved by Ford, second by McEwen. Okay,
McHugh.
thank you, McHugh. And start out with Richard. Ask for your staff report, please.
Yes, variance 2019, variance 008, Dan Howell of Howell Farms Inc. and Howell Livestock Inc. has applied for a variance to relocate his existing Class C confined animal feeding operation for finishing swine. They have been finishing swine at 2 locations on their farm since the 1980s and have had 1,900 head of swine at the present time. The farm is located in Zone B of the first occurrence of aquifer materials map, noted as the map, and the orange shaded area on the map shows a depth of 0 to 50 feet presence of aquifer materials. The first occurrence of aquifer materials map was done by the South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources Division of Financial and Technical Assistance Geographic Survey Aquifer Materials Map 19 by Lane Schultz in 2004 to be used as a guide of the soil profile. The applicant had soil borings completed by Lacey Well Drilling, Inc. at the proposed site and across the road to show the profile of the area. Soil borings show the soil profile consisting of 1 to 2 feet of topsoil, 2 to 22 feet of muddy, tight, and yellow clay, and 17 to 34 feet of sand and gravel. And there also is a USGS test boring in the vicinity of the proposed site and shows a similar soil profile. The proposed location is also of this new building is 1,500 feet away from where the soil profile changes to the next level in the aquifer materials map, which is 50 to 100 feet below land surface. And the soil borings show the presence of a deep clay layer which extends into the yellow and orange area on the map. The soil borings were provided by the applicant, were presented to East Dakota Water Development District for review. And East Dakota Water Development District has reviewed the soil borings and supports the variance request, as the soil borings show a 15 to 20 foot clay barrier directly below and extending beyond the proposed site. The manure storage containment for the barn will be excavated 4 to 5 feet into the ground and made of cement and sealed. The area will be projected with the depth of the clay barrier. When the ordinance were updated, East Dakota Water Development District was contacted in the update process to ensure the aquifer and the environment are being adequately protected and the resources are used as a guide to that processes. And the first occurrence of aquifer materials map is one of those resources used as a guide. The Aquifer Protection Ordinance also allows existing farmers and producers in the Zone B to continue their operation at their current level and to expand up to 250 animal units up to a Class C level. The applicant has also filed for a conditional use 2019 CU 009 for a Class C CAFO that the board will also be hearing tonight. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Volga Township Chairman and Clerk, the Brookings County Highway Department, and Kingbrook Rural Water. Public notices were also published in the Brookings Register on August 20th and 27th, 2019, and the Volga Tribune on August 22nd and 29th. Here's the applicant's variance request. Site map showing the proposed location. This is where one of the existing barns is right now, just down the road, 1/8 of a mile. This is the boring results, the test soil profiles from the Lacey well drilling that provided the boring samples for them. This is the map of the proposed bore where the borings were located. Just a map of the proposed area. This is their current operation, right? This is where Mr. Howell lives. They have facilities here and here to the north and south of the proposed location right here. This is the aquifer materials map. This is the proposed location of the building right here. The yellow on this map, the colors can't quite get true with the original one put on our layer for the beacon map. This is the other soil area where it deepens to 50 to 100 feet. From there to there, it's 1,500 feet where the soil profile changes there. And this is the area where the soil borings were drilled or performed that showed the layer of clay of 15 to 22 feet in that area. Here's the presence of the aquifer materials map. This is where the proposed location is right here, where the little black mark is. This is the official map, as the other one with the beacon layer, but the color doesn't quite match this one. Again, just a beacon map showing the location. Just looking up north from 464th Avenue, Blacktop County Road. This is looking out into the field from the driveway, out into the area right here. This is looking south along 464th again, just north of the trees right there. Looking towards the northeast, towards a proposed site out there in the bean field right at this time. And that's all that I have.
All right. So thank you, Richard, and we'll ask the applicant to come forward and address the board, please. State your name, please.
Good evening, Dan Howell.
And anything to add to Richard's comments or
Um,
anything else?
I guess I'd add a few things. My dad's here in the orange, Kent Howell. My dad, Kent and Craig. I've had hogs since late 70s, early 80s, and kind of phased out a little bit as ethanol kind of became more popular. And I moved back to the farm in 2012, and in January of 14, I started custom feeding hogs for a Hutterite colony, and have been doing so ever since. So right now I have 3 hog barns that total 1,900 head, and I feed feeder pigs, feeder to finish, which is 50 to 60 pound pigs. So right now in a year, figuring a little death loss, I send about 5,500 pigs to market right now. I'm 32 years old. One of the barns I have is older than I am, and the other 2 barns were about, when I was 4 or 5 years old. So, the goal is that, they're all going to be retired, and build a new 2,400 head barn. I would look at doing iso-wean to finish, so I'd be doing 2 turns a year instead of 3. Simple numbers, iso-wean, you have 2,400 times 2 turns a year is 4,800. So, just to address, one of the parts of the class, B to a C, is that right now I have less pigs of 1,900, but I do 3 turns a year instead of 2, and I actually send more pigs to market right now than I would with a wean to finish of just sending 4,800 pigs a year to market. So I just kind of wanted to make note of that. Little bit on the site. We did soil borings with Lacey Well Drilling out of Del Rapids, and some of the information that was done was for irrigation wells. In one of the previous, there were 7 spots, and some of those were done for irrigation wells. And so on the proposed site is, roughly a 1/4 mile to the north of my house and our main farm. And it's kind of on top of a hill, and we have 22 feet of topsoil. And the proposal is, to kind of do 101 by 193, standard double wide 2,400 head barn with 2 rooms side by side at 1,200. That's kind of standard in the barns today. But one of the things with the aquifer kind of being how it is we're looking at kind of doing what's called a walkout. So what that means is you'd only be going 4.5 to 5 foot in the ground versus traditional 8 feet. So the theory is that you go 4.5, 5 foot in the ground, you have a little bit for your, your cement floor, and then you're, 3 to 4 foot above ground, still having a traditional 8-foot pit. But when a semi comes and backs up to your barn, the semi floor of the back of the livestock trailer is level with your floor of your building, so that you're sending 4,800 pigs a year to market, and your load out is an important aspect. So just to make kind of note of that being with my current situation, I'm not looking to go 8 foot in the ground, and looking to go close to that 5 foot area and trying to accomplish a walkout and stuff too. So and then just to kind of reiterate that this location that we had kind of picked out was 22 feet of soil, or topsoil, and the clay was nice and tight. Jay Gilbertson and I found that the half-mile line, so this is 464 that runs south of Auga, we're 2 south, and so the crossroads is 213 would be just to the north, and 214 would be just to the south, and the half-mile line right in between, the county did a well drilling in the ditch, and they had 28 feet of clay, and it doesn't say if they hit the aquifer at that point, but I'm assuming that they probably did. So, yeah, that's kind of a rundown. Just basically looking to retire my current barns and transition into a new barn and continue to custom feed hogs. So.
All right. Then we will open it up for discussion from the board. Any comments, questions on this for our applicant? Pretty straightforward. Again, concrete versus clay makes a lot more sense. Okay. 28 feet. Okay. So hearing nothing from the board for now, we'll open it up for the public. So with that, we'll start out with any proponents. Okay. If you don't mind, maybe just have a seat. And Mr. Gilbertson, if you wouldn't mind commenting on a few things, we always value your opinion on something like this.
Richard, can you pull up the first occurrence map? Madam Chair, members of the board, Jay Gilbertson with the East Dakota Water Development District, and we're involved in creating the original aquifer protection maps along with the ordinance and to some extent these later versions as well. As has been mentioned, the area that with the little black dot up on the screen right there's the handy hand, would suggest that based on best available information, there are surface sands and gravels, or sand and gravel found at land surface at that location. Now, this map, much like all the rest of them, are sort of assembled by people like myself using the best available information, best professional judgment, and those kinds of things. Invariably, where we really want to know something is 2 or 3 miles away from where we've got a test hole or a good outcrop or something like that. So these are created as best guesses. They're right more often than they are wrong, by a long shot, thankfully. But from time to time, when additional information becomes available, it's appropriate, I think, and right to make adjustments or make allowances accordingly. As has been explained at this particular location, if you're looking at the big map on the wall, the little black dot just to the left or to the west, about a half a mile, is a very light gray area. That is shown up in the legend, suggests that there is aquifer material somewhere below the surface, but before you get to 50 feet. Now that could include anywhere from 2 feet down to 48 feet down when you run into something. And that is a function of the state's DENR's feedlot program general permit. They have they have a 0 to 50, 50 to 100, over 100. On these maps, we have the things at the surface, oranges and yellows. The lighter gray is something below the surface, but before 50. The medium gray just below the hand is over 50, less than 100, and the darker gray is over 100. The information that has been presented, shared with me, and I've had a chance to look at along with staff, would suggest that that white, light gray area should extend at least for another mile to the east, which would encompass the proposed building site. at anywhere from 15 to 25 feet of clay in that area. I can assure you that when the original ordinance was put together, that area would not have been excluded from situations like this. We were out to protect sand and gravel at land surface, and 20 feet down would not have been considered at land surface, and so it's not an area that was intended to be targeted by the ordinance. Because the map says it's there, the applicant has gone ahead and gathered additional information that was not available to the state, was not available at the time the maps were made, and they've demonstrated that every once in a while the maps can be improved. And so with that, I will stand for any questions, but other than to say I would endorse the, I think, staff recommendation, which is to allow a grant of variance in this case. There's additional information that suggests that the concerns at this location are unnecessary.
All right. Anybody else from the audience? Proponents?
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, please,
Speak as
Mr.
well.
Muller.
Luke Muller, First District staff, and I just wanted to follow up with what Mr. Gilbertson had said and just reference some sections of the ordinance that are relevant as well, and that there's a couple of points about that in which the first part establishes the aquifer protection overlay, which is what Mr. Gilbertson was getting into as far as where some of those maps came from and that they exist. The second part references the fact that hydrogeologic information is necessary to verify the location of a concentrated animal feeding operation in relation to an underlying shallow aquifer. That's essentially why you have this action coming before you. There really isn't a specific mechanism. There isn't a magic bullet. We don't have a conditional use permit to raise it out or a variance. That's why we're noticed and acting on it individually as a variance. No, we're not trying to hide anything here. We want to ask this question plainly. And what we've got is a separation distance, not laterally, but up and down. Mm-hmm. And that's what Mr. Gilbertson is here pointing out. My own feeling on it is that this is very similar to if you had an area that seemed like it was mapped in the floodplain and then you sent the information off to FEMA and they said it wasn't. And basically what we're finding out, the information was sent to East Dakota Water Development. They've reviewed it and indicate that now this may not be a big deal the way that it's being proposed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Muller. All right. Any other proponents? Okay. Hearing none. Any opponents from the audience? Okay.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, we did have one in the opponent or supporting the document. Today at 1:50, Paul Moriarty called the zoning office. He is also an adjoining landowner, and he has no objections to the Howell livestock request for the variance or the conditional use request at that time.
All right. Hearing none other from the opponents, we'll close the public hearing. And then back to the board. Any other discussion on this particular agenda item? Okay.
I congratulate you for retiring barns that are obsolete and replacing them with new facilities. I think that continues your family tradition with the farm, and I applaud you for that.
I'd like to applaud you for going beyond and above and doing the extra soil profiles.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right. Hearing no other discussion from the board, we'll close that portion. And Richard, please go over the findings of facts.
Yes, Brookings County zoning ordinance, variance 2019, variance 008. An application for variance having been filed with the Brookings County Zoning Commission, acting as the Brookings County Board of Adjustment. Copy of the application being attached here too. Such application being made by Howell Farms Inc., Howell Livestock Inc. by Dan Howell regarding the following real property. Northwest 1/4 except Lot 1, Olson Addition in the northwest 1/4 of Section 35, Township 110 North, Range 51 West, Volga Township. after due notice of public hearing having been held on the application on this third day of September 2019. And this is our standard facts, and I'll just read the highlighted areas. I'll go down like I did previously. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further determines and conditions this variance upon the following special conditions or safeguards. Number 1, I will not read it, it's the Brookings County Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 4.06, Aquifer Protection, Section 4.0603, Establishment Delineation of Aquifer Protection Zones, which that is what is stated right here. Number 2, Lacey Well Drilling, Inc., license number 111, a South Dakota licensed well driller, drilled 7 boring holes. The soil profiles show a 15 feet to 22 feet deep layer of clay, tight clay and yellow clay below ground surface at the site and surrounding areas. The site-specific soil boring data verifies the presence of deep clay at the site. Number 3, East Dakota Water Development District reviewed the site plan and the soil boring data and supports the soil boring data of the area. Number 4, the excavation depth of a manure storage structure will not exceed 5 feet below ground surface. Number 5, the site is 1,500 feet away from an area on the aquifer materials map where the soil profile changes and the soil borings provided show that the profile extends beyond the area noted on the aquifer materials map. Number 6, the farming livestock operation has been in operation prior to May 1976. The Brookings County Board of Adjustment, by at least 2/3 vote of its full membership, hereby grants a petitioner a variance for the above described real property as follows. Build a new 102-foot by 193-foot finishing barn for swine for an existing Class C CAFO operation to be located on the edge of the Zone B of the Aquifer Protection Zone. This variance is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the conditions and safeguards in 5 above, upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County zoning director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the terms of this variance. If this variance is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid, dated this third day of September 2019. Any additions or corrections?
Hearing none. All right, Richard, please call for a vote.
Klein John.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Spence.
Aye.
Jensen.
Yes.
Bartley.
Aye.
McHugh. Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
And Yelankowicz.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the agenda item number 11. 2019, conditional use 009, Howell Farms Inc., Howell Livestock Inc., and Dan Howell has made an application 2019, conditional use 009, to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a conditional use, Article 11, Section 11.01A, Agricultural District Conditions Use Permit Number 11, Class A, B, C, and D, Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation. The property is described as the northwest quarter except Lot 1, Olson's Addition in Section 35, Township 110 North, Range 51 west of the Volga Township. And so, from the board, may I hear a motion to go over this item?
So move.
Second.
Seconds by Mr. Kleinjohn, and was it moved by? Thank you, Mr. Ford. All right. Okay. And then Richard, we'll start out with your staff report, please.
Yes, 2019 CU 009, Dan Howell of Howell Farms Inc., Howell Livestock Inc. has applied for a Class C confined animal feeding operation, otherwise known as a CAFO, for a swine finishing operation consisting of 2,400 head, which is 960 animal units. The applicant has finished swine in their farm since the 1980s in several barns in 2 separate locations, one being 1,500 feet to the south and the other being 3/4 of a mile to the north of the proposed location. There currently have 1,900 head of finishing swine. The current barns have been in service for 30+ years and are in need of updating. The current barns would be removed and all swine would be located in the new updated facility. The new barn would be the same size as the now Class C operation. Proposed site features one barn, 102 feet by 193 feet finishing barn with an 8-foot deep pit, excavated 4 to 5 feet in the ground and to be used for manure storage, a loading area, office, and feed bin area. The manure pits would be excavated 4 to 5 feet into the ground, and the balance of the pit would be above ground. The above ground portion of the pit would be at the same height of the semi-trailer for loading and unloading purposes of swine. The proposed structure will meet the setback requirements of 200 feet from the county road, which is Brookings County Blacktop Road number 5, which is 464th Avenue, 200 feet from the adjoining property lines, and 1,320 feet from an existing residence, 1,320 feet from a well other than the operator, and the South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources well completion report shows no record of a well within the 1,320 feet setback area. There is a designated area for fatalities for rendering pickup of the deceased animals. The applicant will use Brookings County Blacktop Road number 5, which is 464th Avenue, as the main access. The applicant has visited with Volga Township concerning a road agreement. The manure pit will have a capacity of holding up to 900,000 gallons of manure storage, which is sufficient for 365 days of storage. The manure will be pumped out on an annual basis or semi-annual basis and applied by direct injection. The minimum number of acres needed to apply the manure produced is 200 acres. Their nutrient management plan shows they have 958 acres available for the manure. The proposed location is not located in Zone A of the wellhead protection area, but is in Zone B of the first occurrence of aquifer materials map, in the presence of 0 to 50 feet below. The applicant was granted a variance 2019008 by the board this evening to allow that location there. East Dakota Water District reviewed the application and agreed with the variance request, supported that. The property is not included in the floodplain. The application also includes the requirements of Article 22, Section 2201, Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation Control Requirements number 9, which is A, the owner's operator's name and address and phone number, B, the legal descriptions of the property, nutrient management plan, manure management plan, management for fly and odor control, information and setback requirements. This one does not apply because it doesn't require a state permit. Information on the soils which they provided, and notification of the township, county, and state, and the public water officials. And any other information requested by the county zoning officer. Zoning office has reviewed the above documents and made a site visit to the proposed location. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on August 20th and 27th, 2019, and the Volga Tribune on August 22nd and 29th, 2019. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Volga Township Chairman and Clerk, the Brookings County Highway Department, and Kingbrook Rural Water. A copy of the conditional use application. Site plan again. Here it is on the beacon map. The proposed area in the outlined yellow box. And just the view looking to the north along 464th Avenue, which is Brookings County Road number 5. Looking east towards the field entrance here, where the proposed location is. Just looking south, again from the driveway, clear view that way. And just looking back at the proposed site back towards the east. And that's all that I have.
All right, so again, applicant, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Howell, come on forward, kind of explain. Of course, now we're talking about the actual concentrated animal feeding operation.
Yeah, Dan Howell. Yeah, I apologize. I kind of mentioned the first part out of order, but like I mentioned before, right now 3 hog barns, total 1,900 head. Equivalent to about 5,700 pigs that go out a year, and the difference with that is you're sending pigs to market every 4 months, 16 weeks roughly, and doing 3 turns a year. A lot of the new sow units that are being built are cutting out nurseries. So you have your larger sow units that are being built, and when the piglets get to be 12 to 14 pounds, and they're going right to the wean to finish barns that they call them. So those are 2 turns a year. So like I kind of mentioned before, that right now I do 5,700, and I'm actually about class B, but even though I'd be moving up and having more animal units, I would actually be producing less hogs a year to go to market, because be about 5,500 to about 4,600, I guess, with a little death loss. But a couple other things to reiterate. We do have a existing rendering truck location that I go 50-50 with Nelson Farms, Bob Nelson, Danny Nelson, and Bob Nelson, Danny Nelson, and Paul Nelson. They have cattle, and we have a designated spot in the trees that we dispose of our dead animals there. I guess something I didn't mention before, I do have something signed. I went to roughly everyone within about 1.5 mile radius, and had a short little conversation about applying for this, also kind of talking about the variance and the aquifer, and I had something kind of wrote up with the location, and if you approve of the project, please sign, and if you do not approve, don't sign, or you don't have to sign. And I had all 10 of my closest neighbors within about 1.5 miles, kind of in a true 360, and everybody signed. And I got permission from the 3 adjoining landowners. Paul Murray, he was to the east, and Nelson Farms, and then Marla Volkers was the other one. Yeah, I think that's kind of about all I have to say, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So with that, start out opening up discussion with the board. Any questions that we have? We'll also open it up to the public. Any proponents of this agenda item?
Yes. Like I mentioned earlier, Paul Moriarty did call the office this morning, and this afternoon said he had no objections to the conditional use request by Howell Farms.
All right. Thank you, Richard. Okay. Also from the audience, any opponents? Okay. Hearing none, we will close the public hearing and back to the board. Anything else that we want to know? Anything we have questions about?
On your rendering site, you said it's just back in the trees. Is there any visual barrier to where the animals lie or not?
There's a shelter belt on 213, and we notched it out, and we kind of take the animals. So there's a driveway that's kind of perpendicular, and then as you drive in the driveway, you kind of turn to the left. So the rendering truck is a straight truck, and he pulls in there, and he has kind of a grapple, and so he kind of pulls way in and reaches off to the left, picks up the disposed animals, and disposes them. So we make a strong effort to kind of have them out of sight, and it's been there for probably 10 plus years. But it's, I mean, I guess I'll be honest. I remember growing up, it wasn't that uncommon that people had them in the edge of yards. It's, Nelson Farms and myself make a strong effort to, kind of turn right the last minute, and it's kind of on the back side of the shelter belt, if you will. So they're pretty much out of view majority of the time.
Yeah. I think your reports cover it all pretty well. Few extra animal units, but for the most part, just combining 2 barns into one. Again, we have concrete, so that's a big one. All right. Anything else from the board? Okay. All right. So hearing no more discussion, Richard, please go over findings of facts.
Yes, this will be our standard findings, and I'll read the highlighted areas. Brookings County zoning conditional use permit, number 2019 CU009, application for a conditional use permit having been filed with the Brookings County Zoning Commission, acting as Brookings County Board of Adjustment, the application being attached thereto being made by Howell Farms, Howell Livestock Inc. by Dan Howell. Regarding the following real property, Northwest 1/4, except Lot 1, Olson Addition, in Section 35, Township 110 North, Range 51 West, Volga Township. After due notice, a public hearing have been held on the application on the 3rd day of September 2019. Number 1. Number 2, the Brookings County Zoning Commissioner further finds and certifies that the following specific rules governing the conditional use requested has been complied with. A, Article 22, Concentrated Animal Feeding Operations, Section 22.01, Concentrated Animal Feeding Requirements, number 9. The Planning and Zoning Board has considered and incorporates these findings, number 7, for conditional uses found on page 22 to 17, 18, 19, 20 of the Brookings County Zoning Ordinance. B, Variance 2019 VAR 008 was approved on September 3rd, 2019. It also incorporates C, Article 4, Chapter 4.06, Aquifer Protection, Section 4.0605.02, Conditional Uses in Zone B. The existing livestock operation has been in operation since the adoption of the Brookings County Zoning Ordinance of May 1976. Number 3, A, entrance and exits to property, with structures therein with particular reference to automotive, pedestrian, safety, convenience, traffic flow control, and access. We use driveway off 464th Avenue, which is Brookings County Blacktop Road, number 5. B, off-street parking loading areas were required, with particular attention to the items in A above, economic, noise, glare, or other effects of the special exception on adjoining properties or properties in the general district. No on-street parking. C, utilities, refuge, and service areas with reference to location, availability, and compatibility. Dumpster service to be used for your trash. You probably do that now. D, screening and buffering with reference to dimension, type, and character. This is kind of our standard. Work with the Brookings County Conservation District for a tree or shelter belt plan, just as long as it doesn't interfere with the natural airflow going into your barn. So, E, signs, if any, proposed exterior with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, and compatibility, and the harmony of the properties in the district. 32 square foot signage is allowed, and any regulatory signs for livestock production. F, required yards and open spaces, none stated. G, general compatibility with adjacent properties on the property of the district, meets the comprehensive plan requirements met for the agricultural district. Number 4, the Brookings County Zoning Commission further determines and conditions its conditional use permit upon the following additional special conditions or safeguards. A, road agreement with Volga Township, if required by the township. B, best management practices for manure to be applied by injection at the minimum depth of 4 to 6 inches. Manure to be transported by applicator tank or drag hose. C, rendering service for removal of deceased animals or other approved methods approved by the Animal Industry Board. D, cannot expand into a Class B CAFO. The Brookings County Zoning Commission, by at least 2/3 vote of its full membership, hereby grants the petitioner a conditional use permit for the above described real property as follows. Class C swine CAFO operation for 2,400 head of swine greater than 55 pounds, which is 960 animal units, located on the edge of the Zone B Aquifer Protection Zone approved by Variance 2019 VAR 008. This conditional use permit is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the requirements in 3 and 4 above, upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County zoning director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the requirements of this conditional use permit. If this conditional use permit is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated this 3rd day of September 2019.
All right. With that, Richard, please call for a vote.
Ford.
Aye.
Spence.
Aye.
Jensen.
Yes.
Bartley.
Aye.
McHugh.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Yelankowicz.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to agenda item number 12. Okay, so with that, this is 2019, conditional use 010, Kimberly St. John has made an application 2019, conditional use 010 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for conditional use. Brookings Joint Jurisdiction Area, Article 4, Agricultural, Residential, and Floodplain and Aquifer Districts, Section 405. Agricultural District A, Section 408, Special Exception Number 10, Stables and Brookings County Zoning Ordinance, Article 11, Section 11.01A, Article Agricultural District, Conditional Use Permit Number 12, Stables. The property is described as Lot M-2 of Warrior Commercial Park Addition and Lot M-2 in Warrior Commercial Park Second Edition, including vacated portion of street in southwest quarter of Section 18, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township, located at 1900 25th Avenue, Brookings, SD 57006. And from the board, may I hear a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
Okay, a motion, Mr. Nelson, and a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Kleinjohn. Okay. And Richard, for your staff report, please.
All right. This is 2019 CU 010. Kimberly St. John has applied for a conditional use special exception for a horse stable located in the Brookings City, Brookings County Joint Jurisdictional Area. Property is located at 1900 25th Avenue, which is an eighth of a mile west of I-29 exit on the Highway 14 bypass, and then north an eighth of a mile on 25th Avenue. Ms. St. John would like to board a maximum of 30 horses put on horse clinics, camps, and events. Her business plan was attached and includes the following: how the facility will be gated and locked, the maintenance and grounds plan, manure plan, emergency plan, points of contact, alternate locations and of the horses in case of emergency. And this is a former Neil Sebring property. The facility has been approved for a horse stable since 1997 with the conditional use and special exceptions granted to several operators since that time. Brief history of the property was July 30th, 2019, J.C. Twisted had a conditional use for the property. And she called on that day saying she is ceasing operations on August 1st of this year and is no longer operating the facility. On November 6th, she was granted a temporary 3-year conditional use permit for her horse stables, which would expire in November 2021. January 5th of 2016, J.C. Twisted was also granted a conditional use at that time for 3 years, which expired this past January. Back on April 1st, 2003, also was granted to Christensen Investments. And also in 2003, it was by Hamilton, which is investments also. And back in 1997, Mr. Sebring, the original operator, was granted a special exception. The City of Brookings Community Development Department has reviewed the request and has no objections. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on August 20th and 27th, 2019. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Aurora Township Chairman and Clerk, the City of Brookings Community Development, and the Brookings County Highway Department. Is there a conditional use request? This is their business plan, which was attached to your report. This is rules of the facility. Beacon map showing the location. This is the I-29 bypass. This is 25th Avenue, and right here is the proposed location, or is the location. This is looking north on 20th Avenue towards the entrance. This is looking south there. It's looking in, going into the main entrance down the driveway. This is right at the curve where the cul-de-sac goes, Circle Drive goes around. This is looking to the northwest part of the pasture. This is a Circle Drive right here. This is pasture on the south side of the Circle Drive area. Coming around the circle, this is the stable area right here, main riding arena. Looking out to the northeast, pulling in the back here with the area where the backside where the hay and manure storage is. Large pasture right there. And also here's the area right here and also trailers would be stored and parked in this area too, of the people leasing the facility. It's just looking at the same area. And that's all. We haven't heard no comments from the township or the adjoining landowners. That's all that I have.
All right. Is the applicant here tonight? All right. Please step forward, state your name, and a little bit more about this project.
My name is David St. John, and my wife and I are doing this. We boarded our horse there when it was J.C. Twisted, and then they decided that they weren't going to do it anymore, and we needed a place to have our horse, so we decided to take it on. We got in touch with the owner, the Christensens, and asked them if they'd be interested in leasing it to us to run the same type of business that was there before. The only difference that we have, I think, than what they had before, number one, we have a fly and pest plan. We have a exterminator that's already come out once, and he's going to be on a scheduled visit to do that. And also we have chemicals, USDA approved chemicals for every person that has a horse there. Every person that has a horse there has to have a stall. Everybody that has a stall has to use these chemicals to put in there for the smell and odor of things to make it nice. Getting rid of manure, we've had a couple of farmers that have said they wanted some. So we've got a 14-foot trailer and a Bobcat that we'll be hauling it out with, and that we don't, we'll take it to the landfill. We have an account set up with them. Every person that brings their horse there has to have a Coggins report, so there won't be any horses coming in with diseases. We have a couple of ladies that we've hired. One was on the equestrian team at SDSU, one was on the rodeo team that are going to be managing the barn there for us. And if we have any issues with a sick horse or anything like that, a local vet would be called in to handle that.
All right. Pretty straightforward then. Start out with opening it to the board. Any discussion, questions we have for the applicant? Okay. Not hearing so much, so. All right, public. Any proponents, opponents? Not hearing any. Close the public hearing. Back to the board. Any other discussion, questions? All right. So Richard, let's go over findings of facts.
Yes, this will be our standard findings, and I'll just read the highlighted areas. Again, Brookings County zoning conditional use permit, 2019 CU 010, application for conditional use permit have been filed with the Brookings County Zoning Commission, acting as the Brookings County Board of Adjustment. Copy of the application being attached here too. Such application being made by Kimberly St. John regarding the following real property. Lot M2 of Warrior Commercial Park Edition and Lot M2 of Warrior Commercial Park Edition, second edition, including vacated portion of road in the southwest 1/4 of Section 18, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township, located at 1925th Avenue, Brookings, South Dakota. After due notice, a public hearing have been held on the application on the 3rd day of September 2019. Number 1. Number 2, emergency fire and safety plan is on file. Number 3, A, entrance and exits to the property and proposed structure within, particular reference to automotive and pedestrian safety, convenience, traffic flow in case of fire or catastrophe. Will use current driveway off 25th Avenue. B, off-street parking loading areas were required with particular attention to the items in A above, economic, noise, glare, or other effects of the special exceptions, conditional use on adjoining properties or other properties in the general district. No on-street parking allowed. Use on-site parking. C, utilities, refuge, and service areas with reference to locations, availability, and compatibility. Must use trash service for garbage and refuse. D, screening and buffering, none stated. E, signs of any proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, compatibility, and harmony and for properties of the district. 16 square foot sign allowed. F, required yards and open spaces, none stated. G, comprehensive plan requirements met for the agricultural district. The Brookings County Board of Adjustment further determines and condition this conditional use upon the following additional special conditions or safeguards. Number 1, the conditional use special exception 2019 CU 010 is good for 3 years or until the applicant vacates the premises, whichever occurs first. Number 2, best management practices to be used for A, animal disposal storage area with concrete floor and stem walls. B, insect control. D, grassland management. E, weed control as needed. C, the maximum number of horses boarded is 30, with the maximum of 30 on site at any one time. 4, deceased animals disposed of within 24 hours. Brookings County Board of Adjustment will at least 2/3 vote of its full membership hereby grants the above petitioner a conditional use permit for the above described real property as follows. Conditional use special exception horse stable for 3 years, expires on September 3rd, 2022, or when the premises are vacated by the applicant, whichever will occur first. This conditional use permit is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the requirements in 3 and 4 above and upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County zoning director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the requirements of this conditional use permit. This conditional use permit is not used within 3 years of the date granted. It shall be invalid. Dated this 3rd day of September 2019.
All right, thank you, Richard, and please call for a vote.
Spence. Jensen.
Yes.
Erickson. McHugh. Davis.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Yelankowicz.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All righty. So moving on to agenda item number 13, department reports.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to thank Counselor Nelson for coming tonight. He's going to depart now, and we do want to thank him all for coming tonight. My director's report, number one, Tom Davis has been appointed to fill Bob Rochelle's term. Unfortunately, his term ends at the end of this year, and then he'll just have to reapply and for the next time. We're also going to re-advertise the alternate positions, which just means Mr. Erickson will have to reapply. It's a 3-year term, so it's natural time. And we're also advertised for another alternate since Mr. Davis moved up to the big chair. The planning conference is October 16th and 17th. Richard or Ray Lynn will get you more information on that. You can sign up for one day or both days. And if you're interested in going, you probably need to get a hold of Ray Lynn so I can start figuring out how to pay for it. But one day we got them lawyer guys coming in to do the CAFO, Zach and Jack. And that day we also got a field trip up to the wind towers and to see a dairy. So, and then the first day it's a bunch of classroom stuff. So, but we'll get you an agenda and all that so you can figure out if you got time. Unfortunately, that is during crop season, isn't it, Richard?
Yes, October 16
October 16 and 17.
16 and 17, yes.
So, next up, FEMA has started contacting us. They contacted 2 townships, Trenton, and what was the other township? I didn't catch the other township.
I didn't catch the other one either.
There was 2 townships contacted, and they contacted my office, the county, to get reimbursed on FEMA stuff. So we'll see what we get. They are starting to hit the counties or the townships, and of course, I want to say 20 out of our 23 townships filed claims, so it's going to take some time to get there. But the main thing, if they contact your county or township, and if you're on a township board, you guys need to meet with these people and get the information from them, and then go back and compile all the information that they asked for. They're going to ask for receipts and is the work done, and they got a whole checklist of stuff that they want to ask you. And just comply with it. I have told them that if a township needs help when FEMA comes out, I'll be more than happy. Me or Richard will come out and assist. Ray Lynn's going to assist with the computer stuff in the office. And the same goes for any township. If you need help dealing with FEMA, contact us and we'll do what we can for you. Next week, the South Dakota Emergency Management Association has a conference in Pierre. Me and Richard will be off to that. And then the following week, I'll be in Pierre once again for the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners. And other than that, that's all I've got, Madam Chair. Mr. Mueller wants to have a short talk real fast.
All right.
In 2,000 words or less, if I may, Madam Chair, I'll just follow up with what Mr. Hill had said. On the 17th, that's Tuesday the 17th, I'll be giving a presentation along with the current president of the South Dakota Planners Association, the current acting zoning administrator in Yankton County, and Jack Heeb. All will be presenting at the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners, or county elected official, or county officials, sorry, at the conference that Bob is referencing. That is Tuesday morning, the 17th. The only catch is that's in Pierre. Good news is you're probably not going to be combining. I'm sure you're really happy about that. But it is an opportunity to get to that if you don't think you can get to the planners conference in October. Good news on the planners conference in October, at least we brought it here this year. So, and then the other thing I will point out, in the past, though I'm not the president of that association anymore, we used to treat that more as seats as opposed to the individuals, so that if, say, all 9 of you at one point wanted to be there, as long as we figure out a way to work it out that we're not paying for everybody's meal at the same time. Not everybody should come at lunch. Then they'll probably charge you for all of it. But I'm betting there's a way to work it out that 4 people there at a time or something like that probably is fine.
And Richard, do you have anything to add?
No, I do not.
That's all we've got, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. So no executive session. So with that, may I have a first or a motion and a second for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
By Mr. McHugh and second by Mr. Erickson. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Councilor.